Another year, another year of heartbreaking losses for the Packers. When does it end, folks? When does it end?
This is Tom Grassi, and you're watching the PackReacts podcast.
Let's go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to PackReacts. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Hadler, along with our other co-host, Mike Arana, and our recurring guest star, John Carlson, folks. Welcome to PackReacts. Yes. And yes, so we'll be back with PackReacts, and tonight we'll be discussing the heartbreaking loss once again to the 49ers. We lost there. But before we start, folks, we like to incorporate our new segment, our history and trivia, as we did last week when Mike was way off on the guest there from that. So, yeah. History. Disappointing there. It's been 3 years now, folks, on this exact date since the Packers lost to the 49ers at Lambeau in that heartbreaking when the Packers had Aaron Rodgers, the number one seed. So that's the history of the day there. Now the trivia, folks. Who is the leading all-time rusher in Packers history, folks?
Does that have anything to do with that?
What do you mean?
You lead it up with the getting us depressed about not going to the MC Championship game when we both had tickets, and asking a question has nothing to do with that?
It's part of going through it, Mike. There was nothing other historical.
All right.
There was no other good historical. I'm sorry. There was no other good historical.
I like the trivia.
No, I do. I
just
don't know why he had to get us depressed.
It should be. We're already depressed.
Yeah, we're already depressed. Can't do anything about the history part there.
My guess is Amon Green.
John.
He was a legend. I don't know. I'll say Dorsey Levens.
Mike is right. Amon Green is the correct answer.
Oh,
really? I had no idea he was number one.
Let's go.
I thought for sure it would be some player that I'd never actually seen.
He has over 8,322 rushing yards in Packer history.
I definitely knew that. Yeah, you're right. Jim Taylor's number 2 with 8207. Guess who number 3 is?
Aaron Jones.
Our guy Aaron Jones. Although this is the second time we've lost to the 49ers after Aaron Jones had a big play up the right sideline.
Exactly.
That after that play we did absolutely nothing and didn't get a touchdown on.
You're right.
I knew that play.
The one in 2022 after the 2021 season, he should have scored on that one. That one he hesitated for no reason.
He absolutely hesitated.
This one, it was the fourth quarter. He'd already run for like a ton of yards. I get it. He was exhausted. He was never going to make that, but he should have scored the last time. Right?
They were going to catch up to him on the left side. He actually got some more yards because he went between two guys. But again, I just want him to put his head down and just run towards the end zone. Sorry, to the sideline and just get as much yards as you can because keep your head down and run. If you fumble it out of bounds. Worst case, you don't have to look back, even if the guy comes and knocks the ball out. Definitely in the one 3 years ago or 4 years ago now, he had to keep his head down and keep running. This one, he made it further, but again, I would have rather you have your head down and run as fast as you can go. So,
but good for Emmanuel Wilson the very next play.
Yeah.
Usually the backup comes in, he gets 2 or 3 yards up the middle. That was another first down run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We were all excited in the Wayland in New York City after that play. Everyone's going crazy. And then after that, all downhill from there. So let's get into it. What's our first segment, Jeremy?
Well, we're discussing this loss here, this Packers loss against the 49ers. And then our other segments will be evaluating of who stays, who goes on this Packer roster. That could be Joe Barry, which we all know we're big Joe Barry fans out here. Could be special teams, Rich Bisaccia, players on this team. Do we want to keep them? Do we want to restructure, have them on, get rid of them? Do some of that. So we'll be going through and also reflecting on this season as what has stood out to us this season and looking to the future. Future, folks.
Makes sense. All right, I'll start. So I obviously watched the game in the Packers bar in the city. Packed house again, two in a row, obviously. It was fun. There was a lot of good atmosphere. This was a great game up until the fourth quarter there. Everyone's going to the fourth quarter, though. Mario, who unfortunately couldn't join us, though, was telling me, once we get into the fourth quarter, if we're there down by more than one, they're 0-30. And I go, I don't want to hear that stat. All we need is this one game till we blow it. And unfortunately, that's what happened. But the Packers played really well in this game. Reason we lost this game is for two reasons. One, the referees screwed us
Yeah.
in multiple ways over the course of
Yep.
the game. And I don't want to blame it all on the referees because, look, we lost this game too on ourselves. But there were just some terrible calls, including the spots on all these third and one. The offsides that on the 4th and 1, Packers rushed that one up, on 4th down. They probably shouldn't have done that because what they did also, they rushed the referees, and the 49ers were able to line up super close together over the ball and get just that ounce of pressure right in the middle to stop Aaron Jones from getting it, or Love. I forget who ran that one, but
They should have challenged it too, I thought.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
yeah, I think it would have been tough to overturn. But yeah, it was definitely offsides. There was a few face masks that were missed.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what else.
There was the
Did
fight on
you
the
mention the intentional grounding yet?
Potential grounding,
yeah.
absolutely.
There was the fight on the sideline too, where literally the defender knocks him to the coolers.
Yeah. No, just time and time again, they were just mistakes. And the Packers played a clean game on penalty wise. Not only did they not get many penalties, I don't think they deserved many penalties either. So the Packers played really well in there. I think they played decent on offense. I don't think Jordan Love had his best game for sure. But I think they played good enough to win. Defense, I think they played really good up until that fourth quarter, and obviously that last drive where they couldn't stop them. But what this comes down to, I think, is the referees are not taking advantage of the opportunities when they had them in front of them. You need that field goal, but forget about the field goal. You need to score a touchdown that drive. Yep. I'm blanking on a few things, but all these 4th and 1s not getting that extra yard. When Aaron Jones got stopped twice at 3rd and 1, I go, oh, that's a problem. 2nd and 1, they got stopped, and then they screwed themselves on both of those. You need to get those extra yards. That's where we miss a guy like A.J. Dillon to run through that when we only need a half a yard or so. And we were just so close, but so far at the same time. And obviously the low-hanging fruit is Anders Carlson missed field goal. He makes that. Obviously, it's a tie game, and at least you have a chance in overtime. But, look, as much as I didn't think Anders Carlson had a great season, he actually had a better season than I thought he was going to have watching him in training camp because he did not look good in training camp. So, I can't kill him for missing it, but he needs to make that kick. It's a 41-yarder. He just missed it. But once you miss that kick, that's basically the game. It's tough. And then Jordan Love at the last drive cannot throw across his body. That's the last thing you could do is throw against your body. And but that's the one thing I still haven't seen from Jordan Love yet. I don't know if he's super clutch in the 2-minute drill to win the game, and where you're down by 3, you need to get the field goal or a touchdown to win. I still haven't seen that. I don't think he's really had the opportunity other than here in the Falcons game, both of which he kind of squashed. So, that's it. Obviously, it's disappointing. The Packers had I didn't have high hopes coming into this playoffs, but the way they played going to that fourth quarter, we had everything in front of us, and they blew it. So it's very disappointing, and it's really no different than any other season, honestly, looking back. All these losses just add another one to it, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, but that's my thoughts. What about your guys?
It's interesting you say it ends up like any other season, and that's kind of a good thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
The expectations going into this year were, let's try to go 500, and if Love looks decent and we go 500, that's a major win. I don't think anybody thought we'd go to the divisional round. Even a few weeks ago, when we were playing better, I don't think anybody thought we'd go to the divisional round. I don't think anybody thought Love would be as good as he's been where he's legitimately on the fringes of the MVP conversation. The receiver room, after being a weakness the last few years, even when you had Devontae Adams, all of a sudden looks like one of the deepest receiver rooms in the league, and they're all on their rookie contracts. And I mean, I had some confidence going into this game just because of how good they looked against Dallas. And one of the things that made it tough was knowing that if you manage to win, you have two really beatable teams on the other side. Like if they fix some of the mistakes and they win that game, there'd be so much confidence going against Tampa, or it ended up being Detroit.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about Jordan Love in the Super Bowl in his first year as a starter.
Yeah.
And it sucks to have it so close and then just kind of taken away from you as a fan.
Yeah.
But I agree. You got to credit the defense. They played a lot better. The Bucs game, the MetLife game, those were the low points. They turned it around a lot.
Yep.
Part of that was getting Jair back. I don't know. Obviously, everybody still wants Joe Barry gone, and it'll be hard to get excited about the defense next year if he's back. But the bottom line is there's every reason the Packers should be better next year. And you can tell from the press conferences today, the players and the coaches, the expectation, and it's realistic, is to be even better next year. And that's exciting. I saw a good tweet today that said the best part about this season is the window is open. And we didn't even know if the window was ever going to be open with Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And with the NFC still in a lot of flux going into next year, and a lot of rebuilding teams and a lot of teams who don't really know where they stand, it's very conceivable that the Packers could find themselves, if they play up to their potential, in an NFC championship next season. And that's exciting because that was a baseline every year you have Rodgers. And now it's like nothing has changed. As long as there's not massive regression, that's it. The expectations are the same expectations we had every year with MVP Aaron Rodgers. And that's really exciting. I agree. I mean, Anders cost them in a big way. But like you said, even if he makes the kick, the Niners get the ball back. You know our defense isn't clutch enough to stop them. I mean, if they score a touchdown, they probably go for two with McCaffrey and take a lead. Even if not, okay, overtime, I don't feel good about that. So it's not like Anders totally cost them the game, but it was still a mistake to have him as your kicker going into the playoffs. I don't know. It's the Packer way that you're steady, you're patient, you do things methodically, you're not impulsive. That's why they stuck with Amari Rodgers for so long. That's why they never made a trade at the deadline as long as I can remember, except to give away Rasul Douglas. Like, even when we were one weapon away for Aaron Rodgers, they'd never get it to him at the deadline. It's the Packer way, and that's why they kept Anders Carlson. And Big B said it makes no sense. You don't develop a kicker. Either he's good or he's not. And I agree with that. They should have made a switch. You can't go into a playoff game with a guy who's missed more kicks than anybody else in the league. And you knew when they went into the season with a rookie kicker who looked pretty bad in camp that he was going to cost you a game at some point, and it just really sucks to happen in the divisional round.
Definitely. I mean, it just sucks how we were so close. Like, even like with this young team, we were so close, like getting the NFC Championship game, close to the Super Bowl. That's what sucks about this. It's not about like us just losing to the Niners. It's like we were close to getting to the Super Bowl this year when no one thought we could get it to it. That's this thing that sticks out to me. Is like this game, just we had it right there once again, and we just missed our opportunity. I will give, besides Anders Carlson, I will give special teams a lot of credit here. Got the Keyshawn Nixon, that huge return. Eric Wilson, recover that.
That was awesome.
That was amazing.
That was the play of the game.
Yes,
that was the play of the game. Thanks for bringing that up. I forgot about it. That was the play of the game.
Because that could have literally, once again, twist aside once again, have 49ers get the ball there. Great tackling from the special teams of like not letting him get that too many big kickoff returns there. Carlson did like get some good kickoffs, I will say there. That's what I'll give on Carlson. Punter wise, he was good. He was solid for me.
He was solid. In his flu game.
Yeah, in his flu game too. Yeah. So, yeah, I would give special teams a bit of credit there. Also get that block missed field goal right at the end of half, that which I didn't think our special teams could ever do that.
That was
We
awesome.
blocked the
I
field
didn't
goal.
know we could block kicks.
I didn't know either. The last time we blocked one was when we played the Dallas Cowboys in a no des catch game. That's just incredible to see that. Offensively, we were good. It's just that we got to make those touchdowns. Mike said earlier, you can't be doing those field goals because field goals. At the end of the day, the other team is going to get a touchdown, and it's going to come back to bite you. So that was annoying there. Like I did not like some of the play calls, like right when it was like 3rd and 1. Like they could have done something better. I feel like instead of like maybe a QB sneak, do a read option. I thought maybe they could do that. I think all in all, like offense was good. It's just that they could have done so much better by not turning over the ball, which I said that was a crucial thing in this game. You can't be turning the ball because the Niners heavily rely on turnovers. When they get good turnovers, they win the ball game. When they don't, they lose. And that was one of the biggest factors of Jordan Love overthrowing Tucker Kraft, and then Kraft tips up in the air, and then it gets intercepted by Greenlaw. Then the last play, terrible throwing. I don't understand. Like he was trying to go for Watson, I get it, but that was terrible. It was like the Aaron Rodgers play back then. Throws to Devontae in triple coverage, gets intercepted. It's the same again and again from this last game. Just annoying to see that defensively. I thought they played good for a majority of the time. There was key opportunities in this game where they should have picked it off, like Savage, for instance. I don't know if it would have been a pick six, would have been, but Kyle Juszczyk was right there if he got it. But there were so many times where they had opportunities to intercept it or cross turnovers, and they just missed it. Like there was too many opportunities for this team, and they just blew it.
Yeah, that's the difference between the game against the Cowboys and this game. Against the Cowboys, they seemed to make every play. They didn't give up any opportunity that was on the field. This game was the game of missed opportunities. Savage dropping an interception. Like you said, throwing behind people. Love made a bunch of mistakes, throwing behind Kraft, throwing across his body on the interceptions. Those can't happen, right?
Yeah.
That showed the inaccuracy that we hadn't seen these past few weeks. We saw on those plays.
Mm-hmm.
Some great moments too. Bo Melton in the back of the end zone for the touchdown.
Yeah, that was insane. Because Love overthrew that big time.
Right.
Yeah.
What a catch. What a catch. Aaron Jones had another pretty good game, although he wasn't as good as against Dallas. He had some pretty nice runs, including that huge run where, again, parallels to the game against San Francisco where we got stopped from behind and then they did nothing after that run.
2-point conversion with Aaron Jones also.
Right, which was big. Yeah. But yeah, the play of the game, like you brought up, Jeremy, I just wanted to point that out, is that Eric Wilson play.
Yep.
If Keyshawn Nixon has that return and you fumble it there, that's a huge momentum killer. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the drive that Bo Melton caught the touchdown. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought they got a touchdown on that drive.
I think it was. Yes, it was on that drive. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's 7 points right there that he saved. Right place, right time, and you have to be hustling there because obviously you're running after Keyshawn Nixon who's running. So that's following the ball. That's a heads-up play. Eric Wilson really is the MVP of that game if they win, and obviously they win, but he's still the MVP. That was a huge play. But like John said, overall, in my opinion, this season was a success. Right? No one thought we were going to get here. All we were asking was let's get better week in, week out. I don't think in the beginning of the season anyone would have thought we would have been here, being the number 2 seed and possibly the number 1 seed. What stings with me is that they should have done it. And look at Patrick Mahomes. He made the AFC Championship game every year, 6 years in a row, starting the first year as a starter. That was on the table for Jordan Love in year 1 to make the championship game. And like you said, John, what other year do you get the championship game and you actually go down in competition? You have the Cowboys, you have the 49ers, and then now you have the Lions or the Buccaneers, right? Now, I actually like the Lions. I think they're pretty good. But we've beat them already in their house this season, right? And, the Lions, where are their kryptonite, the Packers? So everything was going for us. And we just couldn't seal the deal. And it sucks because it feels like every year against the 49ers, it's the same thing.
Yep.
And I thought, the law of averages, maybe this would be our year. And it basically was. And we just couldn't get it.
Yeah.
But the reason
They
why we
own us
lost.
completely and totally.
Agree. But the reason why we lost this game is the inexperience. Everything that we thought may have been, helping us at some points. What happened down the stretch here in the fourth quarter, we couldn't put it away because of this young team, unfortunately. Andrews Carlson, probably not the guy we learned this year. Definitely got to get him competition next year, if not completely get rid of him. But I would definitely bring in competition. Jordan Love wasn't able to bring us back in the time we needed and, threw across his body to get the interception. If you have a guy like Rodgers, a seasoned veteran, maybe you have a chance with a minute left to go back and get a field goal. I'm trying to think what other mistakes happened because of the young guys. But on the defense, I'm sure something could have happened that could happen there. But that was tough. That was tough that once you get the ball back with 1 minute, I really did not have any hope that we would go down and get the score. And all we need was a field goal. Don't forget that. A field goal would have been fine. So, I think it was overall a great season. But to get that close, I've said this after. I almost wish we would have got blown out this game, then get that close and blow it. Because it's just like, we should have done that. We should have done that. And if we did, who knows what could have been ahead of us. Disappointing.
Yeah, definitely. To me, this season just reminds me of the movie Moneyball for me because, you look at this entire season for the Packers. They were on a low budget, pretty much, of young team, rookie receivers, cheap guys there. No one expected them to go anywhere whatsoever, Jordan Love especially. And then you see it just kind of grow. It's like they go through the lows, like the Athletics did in the movie. And then all of a sudden they do the rise. And in the middle of the movie, like the Packers did the trade deadline, they give rid of Rasul Douglas when everyone thought they were done and not going to make it. They trade away one of their good players. And then after that, they start climbing like the Athletics did in Moneyball. And then all of a sudden, Jordan Love delivers it to get you to the playoffs and beat the Dallas Cowboys like Moneyball. They also went far, lost in the postseason, but got the job done for what they had to do. It's like that movie just compares this season so much to me of it because you take the young roster, you beat everyone's expectations, and now you have the bright future now, like the Athletics. You got so much draft capital in this upcoming draft. You're going to work through, probably re-sign Aaron Jones of contract constraints. But yeah, this literally movie of Moneyball just reminds me of this season.
Yeah.
That's a good trivia question because I'm looking at the Packers cap and it's insane.
I'm looking at it too,
was
actually.
the Packers' highest paid player? Oh, so you can't answer. Who's the Packers' highest paid player
This year?
That actually played against the 49ers?
I had to guess.
Kenny Clark
or Sean Gary, maybe.
Kenny Clark? Yeah. Moneyball is such a good way to put it because we're playing the best team in the NFC in the divisional round, and their cap is insane. We're paying Aaron Rodgers $40 million. We're actually paying Adrian Amos $8 million this year, which I had no idea. We're still paying Rasul $3.5 million. We have $3 million of dead cap on Dean Lowry. When was the last time you thought about Dean Lowry? All of that's going to be off the books soon. I mean, we're paying $21 million to David Bakhtiari, who hasn't played since week 1. Stokes, $3 million. The amount of money going towards your lineup that you put on the field against San Francisco it's minuscule, and it's still so competitive. So if they can get the cap right and add a few veterans on defense and free agency, like a safety, maybe a linebacker. Hopefully Lucas Van Ness takes a step. It's really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bakhtiari's gone after the season. We get $21 million of cap savings if we cut him. So he's gone. And unless he restructures big time.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is the next one that might be on the chopping block if he doesn't restructure. We save $5 million if he gets cut.
I think they re-sign him.
You got to re-sign him.
I agree, but he's going to have to
restructure. Restructured so many times.
He'll do it. He's a Packer.
You got to do what you got to do to make sure he's a Packer.
he always takes the pay cuts and always wants to be with them. So I could see it because the choices with us is pretty much like either restructure him or he leaves. That's the only two options we have with Aaron Jones.
Yeah. But no, we're going to have a lot of cap room next year. Aaron Rodgers is completely gone, like you said.
Off the
Adrian
books.
Amos is gone.
Off the books.
The biggest dead money right now is Rasul Douglas.
2 third-round picks.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. But what needs to happen, though, is we need to have a big offseason from these young guys. I want to see them working out together. What do you call it? Building some more camaraderie because, hey, look, we really can use this season as a springboard for the next few years and really accelerate some of the growth. I mean, we've already seen it accelerate, but the thing is, can we keep this up? If you can bring this back next year, right, there's a sophomore year slump. A lot of these young rookie guys, right, could go through the slump next year.
Yep.
We got to make sure that doesn't happen because it could become a team slump if we don't, keep up the kind of the urgency that we had this season. Yeah. Absolutely, and the expectation. But we didn't get it done this year. Again, we don't play to make the divisional round, get pretty close, and then lose. We need to break through that wall at some point. It's that wall we have not broken through since 2010. So we need to do that. And this is a good young core of guys. I agree. The question is can they come back next year and become a dynasty like the young guys we see, Mahomes, the Chiefs, in it every year? Although the Bills are kind of like us and blow it every year, they are in the midst of it every year. The 49ers now, right? The Ravens are probably going to become that team. But, teams that are consistently in the midst of it, can this young Packers team become that? Because if they can, right? If they can, this team is the first time in a long time that we've lost in this situation where it's better next year than it was this year, right? With Rodgers, every year we got closer to, retirement, another year older. So we were closer to dying. This year, we're actually closer to growing, right? If we can keep building. That's the benefit of like a team like the Bills, right? They keep losing, don't get me wrong, and it's starting to become a problem because if you've seen the Bills, how many people they're losing this year, it's actually pretty big. So this actually was the season they couldn't lose. But with a guy with like Josh Allen, right? Every year, he's going to be there, and he's pretty young still, right? So you got your guy. You just got to build around him and keep getting better. This could be the problem with the Bills. The Bills might not be as good next year as they were this year because they're losing a lot of people. But if you have a guy in Jordan Love, which it looks like we do, it really does look like we do. If he just, cleans up some of the loose ends we've got, then we're in business. As you said, the receiver core is young. The tight end core is young. We need to get younger on running back, though. We need to give I posted this.
Yeah, you need a good number 2 running back.
Yeah, really a good number 1 running back. Look at Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit, how good he is, right? We need a playmaker to open up the field next to Love. Look at what Aaron Jones did in the playoffs, right? Really opened up the offense against Dallas. Same thing against San Francisco. If we had a guy that was there game in, game out during a regular season, that's a game changer. It's going to open up a lot of things down the field. With A.J. Dillon did not bring that same type of game-changing ability. So that is the thing. Somebody was asking, do you think we bring A.J. Dillon back? To me, it's not a priority. Really isn't. If he's cheap, absolutely, I'd bring him back. Why not? I think he's a good team, player. I don't know if he can leave Green Bay. So I would not be breaking
Green Bay so much he's not going anywhere.
Exactly. He just built a house in Green Bay. His wife was from Green Bay. He just had a baby. He wants to start a family. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. So here's what I would do: offer him the vet minimum, right? And say, hey, look, AJ, you could take the vet minimum, or you could go somewhere else. We're fine with that too. And you're gonna upend your family. It's up to you. He might not be too happy about it, but I would not overpay for AJ Dillon. That's where you start to get into issues with the cap space, because I don't think he's a guy you build on. But it's going to be an interesting offseason. I think the Packers have a lot going for them. They have a ton of draft capital, a ton of cap space. I would make a few moves here. I would want to see the Packers get it, like maybe a veteran safety, maybe a veteran pass rusher or cornerback. A few pieces on the defensive side. But I think that might be what this team needs is maybe 1 or 2 pieces. Nothing go crazy. I wouldn't want to break the bank, but one or two pieces to kind of complement this team to say, hey, we believe in this team because of what we saw this year. We're going to put in a piece that could really provide the veteran leadership, maybe to bring us over the top. I'm thinking about like a guy like Charles Woodson, guy like Julius Peppers, somebody that comes in that's a stalwart of the team that, allows the rest of them to kind of like what Aaron Rodgers was for the Jets this year. Not that the
Yeah.
Jets had a lot of success with him, but all the young guys kind of rallied around this guy. We didn't really have that this season other than Aaron Jones. That's why I think we definitely need to bring Aaron Jones back because of that veteran presence. But we also need a guy that is probably going to be more reliable on the field game in, game out than Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones at this point in his career gets hurt too often to be like a 17-game regular season player. And we need a veteran guy that's going to be that. We're going to lose David Bakhtiari, I think. We're going to lose Devondre Campbell. So we're going to lose some, veteran leadership on this team. And I think if we get a few guys in free agency, it'll be good. But obviously, it's up to the draft. I think this is going to be a great draft for the Packers. Ton of capital. Unfortunately, we didn't get the one from the Jets, but we'll take the 2, a pretty high 2 as well. And I think we'll be back next year, guys. I really do. It's going to be tough, though. Every year is a different year. Every year is tough. And, we had a chance this year, and unfortunately, we blew it again. So, maybe next year we'll do it with a home game. That would be nice. Go ahead.
Sorry. You mentioned safety, which I agree with. And here's another interesting trivia question because I'm taking a sneak peek at free agency.
I think I might know the answer to this.
Buda Baker's the top free agent safety. That totally makes sense. But in terms of what they were paid this season, who's the number 2 free agent safety coming up this offseason?
I had to take a guess. I would say Micah Hyde.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's go. Bring him back, baby.
I would bring him back. I would absolutely bring him back if we can get him. Because again, the Bills are losing a lot of pieces, and they might have to bring all these guys back.
But one guy miss.
The one guy I would really love, though, and I don't think they let him go. But if we could get Antoine Winfield Jr., he's a free agent this year. But I don't think they'll let him go. But if you can get him, that I think could be the piece that propels this team to, definitely another NFC Championship game, if not a Super Bowl. But that would be a big player because he's still pretty young. But I don't think they let him go.
He's great.
The Buccaneers.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Let me get your guys' thoughts on Jordan Love of a grade-wise. If you had to grade him of this season, what grade would you give him?
A.
I would give him a B+. I think he still has some accuracy issues, and I think in the pressing moments, I think he had some issues, like in the Falcons game against this game. Definitely in this season, I think he definitely exceeded expectations. I'd give him an A in this season, but in terms of what his potential is and kind of like what I expect to see, I think it was a B+. There's definitely room for improvement, that's for sure. I don't want to give him exceed expectations, because there's definitely room for improvement. So I would say B+ is fair.
And part of it is we're a little biased because he's been a top 3 quarterback since Thanksgiving. There were you think back to the Raiders game, he's probably the number 1 reason we lost that game that we shouldn't have lost.
Yep.
And there's probably 1 or 2 other games like that. But you saw the growth. And nobody knows Aaron Rodgers better than Packer fans. And when you have so many moments, particularly the second half of the season, where Jordan Love looks identical to Aaron Rodgers in terms of the crazy one-footed pressure in his face, touchdown passes that he's making, which are all just an amazing plays. That's why I say the window's open, and I guess that's why I give him an A.
Yeah. What about you, Jeremy?
I mean, I would probably kind of lean towards A- wise because A, he outperformed the expectations. He's been the best quarterback, in my opinion, the last couple of weeks. Despite last Sunday's performance, in my opinion, he's been the best or top 3 quarterbacks the past couple of weeks. I will say that. My thing, I said this before on PackReacts, is he's played like an MVP the last couple of weeks. And the fact that he didn't even get Pro Bowl recognition is what bizarre to me. No Pro Bowls on this team. Only 1 first-team All-Pro was Nixon, but no Pro Bowlers is still just makes me amazed by his team of how we did this without any Pro Bowlers. Yeah, I would say A minus for Jordan Love. Like, he reminded me a lot of Jalen Hurts, as I mentioned before on the show. The accuracy issue. I mean, he looked calm in the moment, like Jalen Hurts did in his first rookie year. But the accuracy is something he needs to still keep improving on, which he did get better overall. But I think his decision making he needs to get a little bit better on. Like, I think he'll definitely improve on that. Like Mike mentioned about the 2-minute drill. That's why I'm going to give him an A minus, because he still needs to work on that. Because you can go through the games of the Raiders game, Broncos game, Steelers game, Falcons game. Those were 4 potential games where we could have won those easily in the bag, but we messed up on that crucially. And a lot of those were like last minute drives where you just needed a field goal or you needed to get a touchdown. Didn't happen. So for that reason, I give Jordan Love an A minus. But I definitely think that's gonna be his number one thing he works on this offseason is the 2-minute drills.
Yeah, that inaccuracy. I mean, I still think that he's times inaccurate, as you can see in that. Really, the worst pass to me was the Tucker Kraft interception. He threw it completely behind him. The interception late at the game, I think he just rushed. I think that's a 2-minute drill kind of thing you said. I don't think that's him. I'm not too worried about that, although he cannot be thrown across his body like that again. I'm not too worried about Jordan Love. I think he's going to have another good season next year. I think he's going to, I think they built a lot of camaraderie in this team for a young team, and I think they're going to bring that into the offseason. Hopefully, we see some videos of them practicing together. That really means a lot to me. Aaron Jones did it this year. I think Jordan Love could be that catalyst to bring guys together in the offseason. So I'm looking forward to that. But, definitely better than we could have expected in the beginning of the season. So in that retrospect, this was a great season for the Packers. We could be, waiting for the draft and having a top 10 pick. So the fact that the Packers had this much success was good. But it's only going to mean something if you bring it back next year. If the Packers have a sophomore slump next year and don't bring it back, then this doesn't help at all. So still a lot to be determined. Nothing is set in stone yet. But if the Packers could, start where they left off this year and really have a good regular season and set us up for success in the playoffs, that could be the thing that changes this thing. Having some home playoff games, winning the division, that's number one, right? Packers have to win the division next year, and we have real competition in the NFC North. You got the Lions, obviously, who might be going to the Super Bowl if they win this week. The Vikings probably regress, but the Bears, I think, could have a good chance of being better next year.
Yeah,
so
they might win 7 games next year.
Yeah, exactly. Although they probably have a rookie quarterback, so that's to be determined how that pans out. But the Packers aren't going to have a cakewalk in the NFC North for anything. So we really need to start and have a complete season next year. Not kind of what happened this year where we were like this for most of the season, not down, and we really came up at the end. We need to have a complete season and really set ourselves up for success in the playoffs and have some confidence going in where, we could win some of these games down the stretch. So.
Yeah.
I definitely think that's the case there. I also like to give a shout out to Tom Clements, the quarterback coach of the Packers. He has done an amazing job working with Jordan Love. Like the fact that Tom Clements, which no one really knows about at all, but I give him huge props to why Jordan Love had a successful year. He's worked with Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. He's worked with Kyler Murray in Arizona back in COVID and helped Kyler Murray get like a Pro Bowl season and looked good. He has helped quarterbacks throughout his entire career to make them look so good. I hope he's back because it's just part of Jordan Love's journey to get better. I think Tom Clements has to be there. He has to stay with the Packers, and that's one of the big things I think the Packers need to address this offseason is to keep him badly to help Jordan continue his success and continue his journey. So I think that's a big thing that has to happen in that coaching staff where Joe Barry, I don't think he should stay personally. He did have like good games like late season wise. He did show up for the last couple, but overall, I don't think because overall he was 27th in the NFL, which is not good. I would bring him back though, personally, for a linebacker like position or assistant coach, but not as a coordinator though. Yeah. I would do that because I like how Joe Barry does the game plan a little bit better. I definitely think he can get Quay Walker a bit better and get Isaiah McDuffie because I love Isaiah McDuffie a lot more.
Can I say one thing? Actually, by the way, you just got me with the thinking about Jordan Love and Tom Clements. One thing I'm really disappointed in Love, right? And people could say this is a good thing and one thing bad thing, but there were a few plays this season, especially this game, where he had a chance to run the ball on a 3rd and short, right? And for some reason, he thought to throw. Now I know when the play breaks down, you're supposed to keep your head downfield. Someone could be open, but when it's 3rd down and you need that 1st down, right? And it's a short yardage situation, put your head down and go get that 1st down. The play that I forget what it wasn't the interception, but 3rd and 2, right? And he could have ran the ball. The play broke down. He stepped up in the pocket. And he had space in front of him. Maybe one of the linebackers would have came up and like contested him at the line of 1st down line. But I would have take my chances there than throw it on the run, and then he threw behind the guy. Once you put the ball in the air, there's a risk that the guy drops it. You throw it behind him. There's miscommunication, right?
Yep.
You just need 2 yards to live another down, right? Just put your head down and fight for it. If you got 1.5 yards of there's no shot the guy gets, like fight for that half yard. Like just go for it. Like I don't know. That was a bit. I don't know if you guys know what play I'm talking about, but that was really frustrating for me because they blew the drive and he had space in front of him. And he's a young guy. Like he should be able to run the ball. It's not like it's Aaron Rodgers back there, right? Like I just feel like he doesn't run enough for his age and when he sees an opening, just put your head down and take it. That's a guy like Josh Allen. Like he just runs, he goes, gets it. Like he sees it and he gets it. Same thing Mahomes. Like that's what Jordan Love needs to do. Is sometimes, use your youth, use your athleticism, get that 2 yards, and then worry about getting the guy downfield next play. If you don't get the 1st down, there is no next play. Who cares, right? Like you can't be taking a chance when all you need to do is get the 1st down. So that was a killer because that drive they ruined because he didn't run. And if you get that 1st there, who knows what happens?
Definitely.
That was my biggest issue with what Jordan Love did this game. Not even the interceptions, not running on that play was like really frustrating for me.
Mm-hmm. Definitely was. Yeah. Definitely was.
Yeah. Jeremy, so you said next segment run through the pending free agents and figure out who we try to keep and who we because I feel like it's an interesting list. I don't think there's any massive names, but like Eric Wilson, for example, is there. Savage, I don't know if we agree on Savage. AJ Dillon's there.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, even though there's no big names, it's an interesting list.
Yeah, it's very big. Like even I saw like a Twitter post from Andy Herman today, who does Pack a Day podcast. If you guys don't know already about that, but I saw like a post of like if you take all like the free agents that are like not even like you take them all out, like Packers don't re-sign them, like you take out Aaron Jones and you look at everybody else on the list of what we have left. That team is still good. It's still good. Like you still got the receiver room, got the defense, all that. Now, there are a couple things I would probably re-sign. Now, obviously, I mentioned before about the Aaron Jones. Restructure deal, I would do. Bakhtiari, it really depends on me. Like, I would fine with cutting him. Like, I honestly, I would trade.
Price.
It does depend on the price.
Or the price the Jets are willing to pay.
That's what I'd say. I've traded to the Jets is honestly, I would do that. But, like, you could look at Zach Tom. Zach Tom's played great. Rasheed Walker played great. Especially in that playoff game, I saw a statistic where went through a bunch of snaps and allowed 0 sacks in the playoffs. Pretty impressive when you're looking at Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, Chase Young in that competition there. Because our offensive line had to face like the best pass rush you could face, and we allowed no sacks. No sacks. When we thought our O-line was going to be terrible, bad, banged up, all this. No, it didn't happen. So I'm very happy to see that out there. John Runyon, I like him a little bit, so I would re-sign him a bit, but I know he would come cheap though, so I wouldn't mind that. But then again, I know like we're going to draft O-line in the draft, so could make a break it for that there. Keyshawn Nixon, I mean, I would like to bring him back, but then again, like really he hasn't done much, me personally, except like the 49ers game though. Like that was only it. Like that was the one I'm like, boom. That's what you use for. But like a lot of times, like he didn't bring it out or he brings it out and they don't get that much out of him. That's like where I'm on the fence with Nixon. I don't know about you, John, Mike, but that's where I'm on the fence with there.
Yeah, it depends on price. He seems like a good locker room guy.
Yeah.
He's a decent cornerback.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd be happy if he came back, but not if you overpay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
my guys I want to bring back. I want to bring back John Runyon. I don't know if you saw his
I did see
press
that.
conference, but that was a lot of passion there. And I think he's a good offensive line depth guy. I don't know if he's necessarily the best starter in the world, but I
Yeah.
think he's definitely a good depth guy. Would not overpay. I would get him, like I said, somewhere near $1 million or $2 million over the vet minimum. But if he doesn't have a huge market, definitely would like to see him back. Keyshawn Nixon, I would like to have back. Again, I wouldn't overpay for him, but I think he had a good season. Not as good of seasons last year, but it's hard to find a dynamic kick return guy who has also a pretty decent cornerback. And I would like to see him back. Other than that, like I said, there's really no name on this thing that is screaming at me. Bring back.
Jonathan Owens, Simone Biles' husband.
Well, no. I did think that he really picked it up after that really terrible game against Oakland, if I remember correctly. I don't know if that was the game he was really bad in, but maybe it was Denver actually he was really bad in that game.
I remember Chargers won too. He missed that huge key tackle, and a lot of guys scored a touchdown.
Yeah, that might have been the Chargers game. But after that game, he kind of picked it up. So I don't know. Again, if it's cheap, sure, why not? Like I thought he obviously brings Simone Biles with him, which is a nice touch. But again, cheap. Any of these guys, I would not break the bank for any of these guys. Believe me, and I don't think anyone is going to break the bank for him. Savage, I would like to have back in theory. Again, cheap, but I wouldn't go crazy. And like I said, Dylan, in theory, I'd like to have
a great backup, but it's tough if he's your starter.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, the Packers need to get better at safety, for sure. The big thing I think they need to get better on is offensive line again. I think we need to have a top tier draft pick in the offensive line. But for our guys, I'm not too concerned really if we lose all these guys. I think we'll be okay if the Packers don't get any one of their free agents back, which I don't think will happen. I think they'll definitely get them back. Right. And it goes to show you how young this team is because you wide receivers, none, right? Like that's huge. The fact that the Packers control all these guys that really took a step this year, and we don't have to worry about losing any of them or paying any of them. That's really big for our chances next season. And the fact you're really not going to break the bank on any of these guys. The Packers are not going to have to worry about paying anybody unless you get an outside guy for a long time, which is big because. We got our key guys, Rashawn Gary, who really fell off at the end of the season. We need him to step up next year. We got him signed. We got Jair signed. We got Kenny signed, right? Aaron Jones, we have to figure out if we want to restructure him, what we're going to do with the Bakhtiari. But, all these free agents, we don't have any big-name free agents and nobody that's going to command big money, I don't think. So I think the Packers are in a good spot in the offseason. I just wish it wasn't the offseason. I wish we were talking about a game next week. But obviously, we're in a good spot, I think. So,
and it's going to be probably the most relaxing draft in a long time, knowing that you only have one major need and not living or dying by whether who takes a wide receiver in the first round.
Exactly.
And you've got a surplus of picks, and you've got Lucas Van Ness, who's kind of a free first-round pick because you took him last year knowing that the first year was going to be a wash. He was a high-risk, high-reward developmental guy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely think so. The only one, he's technically free agent for the wide receivers for the Packers, but it's exclusive rights free agent, like how they had with Alan Lazard back in a couple years ago, is Bill Melton, which I definitely see the Packers bring him back because I think he's another Alan Lazard. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I'd bring him back.
You got to bring back Bo. I know a lot of fans who really love Bo and would hate to see him go after 1 year.
Yeah, I'm with him there. I would also again Daniel Whelan, who's also exclusive rights free agent, which I would bring him back personally. He's only 25 years old so I would bring him back. I will say this. This is kind of nice though. Is the Shia DeGora experiment is over. It's over. It's not coming back. I'm happy with that. That's the one nice thing.
We were right about that draft for the most part. AJ Dillon hasn't been up.
It was a terrible draft outside of Jordan Love.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Right? AJ Dillon wasn't worth a second-round pick. Josiah DeGuara was not worth a third-round pick.
Goot's worst draft.
I know. That was terrible.
Was that Kamal Martin and those other guys?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Kamal Martin.
Royce Newman, was he that year?
Probably, yeah. Is Royce Newman gone after this year? He's not a free agent, huh? But
largely not.
You brought up Daniel Whelan, right? I would definitely bring him back. I think he had a good season. But But again, the Packers almost lose because of a long snapper. That missed field goal. There's
That's-
definitely thoughts that the long snapper didn't have a clean
Credit to
snap,
the holder
and
there.
Whelan had a what?
Credit the holder.
Right.
yeah,
Whelan
that was Whelan.
just got it down there, but he also had it a little bit tilted, which helped the ball move. So it wasn't all on Anders Carlson. But this is the second time the Packers may have almost lost the game because of a long snapper. Against the 49ers when the guy let that old long snapper, I don't even want to know his name. I completely forgot it, but thank God. Just let the guy run right in front of him for that kick block, right? And then here, where another bad snap. The Packers haven't had a good long snapper since the days of Brett Good, where obviously he was a stalwart in long snapper, and we never had to worry about long snapper. But since then, we've had a huge problem. So we need to get rid of our long snapper. Or Zach, I'm not too big of a fan of him either. But we need to get a guy in long snapper that we don't have to worry about. Same thing with kicker. The big things on special teams this offseason, long snapper and kicker. We need to find a guy that is, or two guys, obviously, a guy in each, that you don't have, it isn't a liability. That's all I'm asking for. Just find a guy and just, get the job done. But we need to find a long snapper because that's becoming a problem. When the worst time to not have a long snapper is when you need him in a clutch situation like this, and you need to have a guy that's consistent there. It's not a hard job. You're just snapping the ball. They literally have one job, right? Like the kicker, it's a tough job, right? Their job is literally just to snap the ball in that one situation, and that's all you do. Do it right, and then block after, of course. But the fact that we can't get a long snapper is a concern to me.
Yep, definitely, in my opinion, underrated position. When I talked about that position specifically on my GOAT series video, where it could cost you it can honestly cost you a game maybe a bit, because you can go honestly look at the Browns-Texas game. If you look at the Browns long snapper, there were a couple high snaps or bad snaps, and the punter for the Browns just had kicked it and it got bad field position. Field goal for the Browns also cost you to maybe miss it here and there. Long snappers are an underrated position to me. I mean, obviously you need a good holder to get it down so you don't have the laces out in front. But the holder, you have to have the good snap. It's like having the center. You have to have a good snap, otherwise you're not going to do well in there. That's a big concern to me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry, cut you.
Oh, so yeah, that's a big position. I mean, I remember we had, I forget if it was Orzek, which the guy who's apparently supposed to be good and now he's just bad. It's just terrible to see that. We're supposed to, again, cannot be having this on special teams. How many times have we seen special teams just hurt us, besides defense, of a game? Too many times we have seen either missed field goal. I mean, we saw with Carlson, but holder, the center, the long snapper has cost us a bit of games here. That has hurt us a bit in some games. Crucial.
You mentioned long snapper, which made me think of two things. I'll ask you guys two questions. One is, do you bring in competition for Josh Myers, and are you comfortable with him as your center next year? And two is, do you think they should keep Rich Bisaccia? Personally, I'm kind of indifferent on Josh Myers. He picked it up a little, but he's still kind of an average to below average guy. But when the rest of the offensive line is playing pretty well, they can make up for it. So whatever on Josh Myers. And personally, I would fire Rich, but I think they'll keep him.
No, I'd actually be on the replace Myers train. I think he's been consistently not good enough at center, and center is such an important position because of that being on the same page with the quarterback, that I want to get a guy that I can really trust there in the long term to be paired with Jordan Love. And I don't think that Myers is my guy on there. I'm almost thinking that he's probably more important to get rid of than some of these other pieces, because you need a center that is going to be reliable and is going to be your answer long term. And right now, I don't think that's the case. I think there's a few positions that you really need a guy that's your guy and is really steady and easy going. Look at Jason Kelsey. He's a center, right? You need a guy that's going to be the stalwart in that position for a long time. Center, I think kicker, long snapper, right? You don't need flashy guys. You just need lunch pail guys like Aaron Nagler, guys that are reliable and you want out on the field. And right now, I don't think we really have that in anything. Center, long snapper, or kicker. So those are three of my real priorities this offseason, is get somebody that is reliable for the long term there. But Bisaccia, I don't think he lived up to the hype that we thought he was gonna, especially not his
Yeah.
salary. I don't know. Maybe you get him to take a pay cut, which I doubt he would do. But I don't know. I don't think it's a priority to replace him just because who else are you going to put in there? I
Yeah.
don't think he's that bad, but he's definitely not worth what they're paying him. So he definitely, we were expecting a lot for him, and it had to have, especially since it hasn't been a super liability from anything that he's doing. I think,
Yeah.
but you know, sticking with Andrews Carlson, Bisaccia is the reason Andrews Carlson is
Yeah.
even in Green Bay, right? So
Yeah.
I doubt the Packers would have picked him if it wasn't for Bisaccia. So if you're an Andrews Carlson hater, then you can completely blame that on Bisaccia because that is the reason why Andrews Carlson is here. So
Definitely. The Rich Bisaccia part, I'm on the fence about firing him, but then again, I'm like, we did this with Drayton, and look what happened. We did this before. We trying to get rid of Ron. We got rid of Ron Zucker after the championship. Look what happened. Still no improvement that much. So I would just keep him for now because who better you're gonna replace? Honestly, I definitely will say that he has not lived up to the hype as you guys mentioned. I definitely think he needs to take a step up. And I will go bold here. I think that Carlson will improve this offseason into next season. I think he will get a much better season. I mean, you can go look at Mason Crosby, his rookie year. He did not look good. A lot of Packer fans did not like him. Next year, he has a solid rebound season. Next year, he gets better. Next year, he gets bad. Then it rebounds again. I think he'll rebound from this, definitely. But I think when it's going to come crucial, there are times he might miss it here and there. But I definitely think he's going to bounce back here. I'm calling that right now.
Interesting.
can I mention something I just looked up? So you guys brought up Maurice Drayton. I just was thinking to myself, like, what happened to that guy? Where'd he go?
I love
Right?
doing that on Wikipedia.
Yeah, like a guy that we put our special teams in for a whole year, if not two, if I remember correctly. So he went to the Raiders as assistant special teams coach. Now he's the coach of the Citadel in South Carolina, and apparently he's been the head coach there 3 times now. So I guess he started his career there as the wide receivers coach, and then he was a defensive coordinator, assistant head coach at the Citadel. Now he's the head coach. Guess what their record was this year? 0-11 at the Citadel. So I liked Drayton. I thought he was an interesting guy, but definitely not the guy you want to be your special teams coordinator. So
Exactly.
that's the one thing about LaFleur. I'll give LaFleur this was a really good season from his standpoint because of all the success we had with Jordan Love and the young guys. So it really looked good on him after a really bad start, I thought. But his hiring decisions, they're just bad decisions time and time again. And maybe you could even say Bisaccia was a bad decision, although I can't really fault him for that since everybody wanted him. But that's really hasn't worked out either. So I don't know. If for some reason he just can't get his coaches to be successful around him, I think. Although
there's a couple.
they have had some good hires different places, but then they didn't work out there either. I mean, so I don't know.
I mean, there's only 2 for me. Is Luke Buckus, the offensive line coach, and promoting Adam Stanovich. He brought Adam Stanovich in, and look, Adam Stanovich has looked pretty good with the Packers since he's come into this Packers team. But I will say Luke Buckus, I will give him that credit for. I mean, he's related to Dick Buckus, but Luke Buckus has shown it here and there. He's helped this offensive line, so it makes it sweeter.
This year, yeah.
He made it sweeter, so I give him credit there. But besides that, he has not done good of hiring.
I'll push back a little bit. I don't know if I'm super stoked on Stanovich still. I think LaFleur kind of, because he's an offensive head coach, the offensive coordinator kind of hides behind him a little bit. I thought Stanovich was a really good offensive line guy, and maybe that's what changed in the offensive line. Is Stanovich kind of paid more attention to the offensive line, but something changed there after that Lions game and the Raiders game, right? The offensive line played much better. So maybe it was Stanovich spending more time there. And I really think he's a really good offensive line guy still. But I still don't know how great of an offensive coordinator he is. And it's hard to say because, what's his name? Who was our old offensive coordinator that is on the Jets now? What's his name? Nathaniel
Jets?
Hackett.
Oh, yeah, Hackett.
Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett, right? He was terrible in Denver, right? And then
Yeah.
the Jets don't really like him either. Luke Getsy, the Bears hate Luke Getsy too. Like so, like everyone
He
behind
got
LaFleur,
fired, I think.
He got fired, so we can take him back.
Getsy's fired.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
right. I
gone.
bet you
I
they
think
come
so.
back. He comes back to Green Bay, but LaFleur has not had a good track record of coaches, and that's why I don't think you're going to see any of the Packers
He's
coaches
got no
get,
tree. There's no LaFleur
right.
coaching tree like some other coaches.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. I think LaFleur is a good coach
Me too.
inside of himself, but I don't know how great he is at getting guys around him to be really, really good coaches either. So I don't know. It's interesting. What do you guys still think about Joe Barry? Think he's gone after this season? Or you think he's earned his spot next year?
I thought it was interesting. LaFleur seemed to keep the door open
Yeah.
to him being gone in the way that he hasn't in the past. I think he should be gone. I thought he should be gone pretty much after every game this season, the good and the bad.
Mhm.
I don't really know how the locker room feels about him. I think I don't think you can never win a Super Bowl with Joe Barry.
No.
We've proved you can go to the divisional round with Joe Barry. But
Almost NFC Championship.
I just don't think you can ever. The goal has to be winning a Super Bowl at this point.
Yeah.
And I think you got to roll the dice on someone new. Like the underlying metrics are okay. They're just okay. They're not good by any means, but they're not horrible.
Mhm.
But the eye test, and I know we're biased as fans, but the eye test fails every single week. And that's even with, like, remember after the Buccaneers game, the Panthers game, this wouldn't even be a question. And, like, I don't want to let these last 4 games sway us too much because then you keep them. And what happens if the offense has a little sophomore slump, which would be understandable, and then the defense does what it does against Tampa and against the Giants when we saw that live in MetLife, and against the Panthers and against other teams. And then the other part of it is, no matter how good the underlying metrics are, and again, they're average, it's never clutch. And that's not just Joe Barry. That was Pettin and that was Capers most of the time too. Our defense never, other than the Super Bowl year when they have like a game-winning pick every game, there was never that one drive where you needed a turnover or a big stop, and you just never get it. Either the offense wins the game, or I don't know. The defense doesn't get it done. I'm still 100% fire Barry the same way I was a month ago.
I'm still on the fire Joe Barry. I will say that. However, I did say his solution because I think because how close he is with LaFleur, I could see him bring him back, but not as defensive coordinator. I could see him be like an assistant coach of something here. I could definitely see that. But honestly, like I feel like, in all honest opinion, I could definitely see LaFleur just bring him back because you don't see LaFleur just like be out of like the Rams, like, all right, he's gone, get him out of the house. Like you don't see that out of LaFleur, so that questions me a bit though, because in the press conference today, he was being like weary about it. It's like you didn't get really like a definite. It's like we're still gonna look at the tape, and I still haven't made a definite decision yet, but we're gonna still look. I'm like, it didn't seem like he was gonna fire him for like hearing from him. But again, I would like him to be fired though. But I would want him back as like an assistant coach though.
Because nobody else, and that's got to be part of the decision. If you fire Joe Barry, I mean, maybe you could. I don't think teams usually do that where they demote somebody like that. But he's not getting a defensive coordinator job anywhere else. I just don't see it.
No, I don't see it.
I know John hates Joe Barry.
Sorry.
I didn't think he was. I didn't think he was as bad as everyone thought he was this year. Obviously, he had that really bad stretch, but at times a lot of people had what do you call it? Bad stretches. So, look, I wouldn't be super angry if they went. What do you call it? For consistency there, I think he'd have one more season. If he had another bad season, that's it. But I'd probably lean on the thing of replace him at this point. I think we've kind of seen his ceiling. But I do not think that he had as bad of a season as a lot of people say he did. I mean, I think the defense overall was good enough. But there were definitely they're not a menacing defense by any means. And if there's a guy on the market that LaFleur thinks he can get that's a top-notch defensive coordinator, I'd definitely go that route. But if he doesn't think that there's a guy that's going to be able to replace Barry or, be better, then I don't necessarily see the point of, downgrading just because we just want to make a point to get rid of Barry. Like, I think the players respect him. I think he's okay. But again, I think he's just okay. But I'm really glad they didn't fire him within the season, because that would have been a mistake. I mean, the fact that this team could have got to the Super Bowl in theory, they would have played better. And then, you need your defensive coordinator at that time. There's nobody else you're going to get that is going to be able to, perform at the level he can, just because of consistency and kind of, what do you call it? Being the one that instilled the defense all this time, right? Like, so this was not the time to do it before the season ended. This would be the time to do it now if you're going to get rid of him. But I really want LaFleur to have some kind of game plan of who he's going to go for before he pulls the trigger and gets rid of Barry, because I don't think that he's the worst case scenario. And if you don't have a guy in mind to replace him that's really going to take a step up, I'd rather kind of have consistency than start all over again. And again, a season that really is important for this team. So again, if you got a top-notch defensive coordinator in the wings, do that. If not, maybe keep him.
The way I'll wrap up on Joe Barry is you have a defense that is talented. Like, there is legitimate talent on the Packers defense. And I know they always devote their cap space and draft picks to defense. But I'm okay with doing it again. I say use the early picks on defense. Use the cap space to sign veterans on defense. And then you have an offense that has so much potential. Like, you could have a prolific offense. Why not swing big and take this already talented defense, add a few more pieces, and then get a young, intelligent, cutting-edge defensive court? You could have easily a top 10 defense next year. And you pair this young, growing offense with a top 10 defense, and they could be one of the best teams in the league.
I'm on board on that Mike Zimmer idea. I don't know if that's on the table, but if he's willing to come back, then I would definitely be down for that.
I would like to throw a name out there, which I don't think the Packers will get him, but Mike Vrabel, I would think maybe he has something, because LaFleur was the offensive coordinator when he was in Tennessee, so connection right then and there. Question is, though, is he willing to take a defensive coordinator, though? Because he is favored for that Seattle job, is what I keep hearing about. So I would like Mike Vrabel a lot, but I don't know if it would happen. If anything else, I would consider Mike Zimmer. Also consider Wink Martindale from the Giants. Someone from the Ravens defense. I consider like assistant guy out there. Not Todd Bowles, because Todd Bowles is going to keep his job when he almost was going to get cut. And cost him that joke that he made at the presser. That cost him the game, I will say that, about that dome. What are we preparing for? Well, you prepared a loss, dude. That's what happened.
Yep. All right, so what's next? Actually, can we go off script a little bit? I want to get you guys' thoughts on something.
What is that, Mike?
All right, so going around the league, obviously, did you guys watch the Bills-Chiefs game?
No, I was too depressed from the Packers game.
I did, yeah.
Okay. So there was another instance where a player fumbled outside the end zone and went out of bounds in the end zone. So now we have that whole debate again of, is that a dumb rule? Should we replace it? I do not think it's a dumb rule. I think it's important. But here's the one thing I would say, actually, I think the rule is a little bit inconsistent. So I just want to get your thoughts on this.
Okay.
So right now, if you fumble the ball, right? If I'm just a player and I fumble the ball and it goes out of bounds, right? If you're in the field of play and I fumble the ball, who gets the ball?
So it stays with the offense, or stays with whoever fumbled, right?
Yeah.
Right, unless you fumble into the end zone and out, then it changes possession, right? So there's a difference here, right? If I fumble it in the end zone, there's a change of possession. If I fumble it in the field of play and it goes out of bounds, it stays with the team. I think you should align the two. So if you fumble the ball parallel or behind you, right, I think it should stay with the offense. If you fumble the ball forward, I think it's got to be a change of possession, because the way I
That'd
think
be
about
crazy.
this, right? The way I think about this is the game of football is almost like a war, right? The end zone is like your capital, and my end zone is my
Capture
capital,
flag.
right? Right, and we're trying to get to the capital to capture the flag, almost, right? So my field is from the line of scrimmage to the back if I'm on offense, and I have to gather your field, right? So the defense owns the field in front of it until you possess the ball and bring it forward, right? So if you fumble the ball and don't possess it, so now it's a live ball. The ball, if you fumble it forward, it's fumbled into the field of the defense, right? And if it goes out of bounds, to me, it should be the defense's ball. So what you would do by changing the rule is now you align the fact that no matter if it's in the end zone or if it's in the field of play, if you fumble it into the other team's territory, it's their ball. If you fumble it backwards, it's your ball. Or if you fumble it and it goes right where you dropped it, like out of bounds, then it's still your ball because it didn't go anywhere. It was neutral, right? But if you fumble it forward, I think it should go to the defense because it's in their zone and it goes out of play. Because my only problem with it is right now there's a discrepancy where I fumble the ball forward. If it's in the end zone, it goes to that team. If it's not in the end zone, it stays with me. So there's a difference. So that's my thought. What are your guys' thoughts? Am I crazy?
Jeremy, you can go.
No, it's not crazy. I definitely get it. I do think I don't. I mean, the only thing I will argue is like if it's like a yard forward and you fumble it and it goes out of bounds. I don't agree with that part there.
But if it's in
like,
the end zone, it doesn't matter.
Well,
how
the
many
end.
yards.
No, I'm saying the end zone. Yeah, I agree with that. But I'm saying like if it's like from your own 20, Mike, and you go to the 21-yard line and you fumble and it goes out of bounds. I don't think that should be it there. I think there should be a distance rule. I say like if it's past the 50-yard line, then whatever is after that, if it goes out of bounds, that's the opponent's side of the ball. If it's below, I think the 50 has to be the neutral zone because you mentioned both sides. That's your end zone. I think the neutral and the most playing is the 50-yard line. So anything that gets past 50-yard line is that side. Anything below the 50-yard line is still your ball. My opinion.
What about you, John?
My opinion is no real change needed. It sounds like they're probably going to change the rule. I think it's fine. As I agree with what you started with, that you own the end zone. That's your territory. And if the opponent fumbles into your territory, it should be your ball. And I was talking about this earlier today, but then the counter argument is, well, if they fumble into the end zone, but if it's not out of bounds, they still have the chance to recover it. Why is out of bounds the kind of decisive factor? I think if all forward fumbles were turnovers, that would slow the game down a lot from an officiating perspective, because I feel like guys, like they're reaching for the pylon or they get hit on the side. I feel like there's actually a lot of fumbles that just kind of immediately go out of bounds, so nobody really notices it. I don't know. Aaron Nagler talks about it. I don't want to do anything that's going to cause more officiating reviews. I think there's way too much emphasis on challenges and flags and reviews and what the refs got right or wrong as it is, and not just enough football when you're watching a game. It's a very, very, very interesting proposal, and it intuitively does make sense. But I don't know. I know it pisses a lot of people off, the current rule, but I think things are fine as they are. And I was rooting for the Bills last night, so I was glad when that happened.
Right. I mean, I think it's fine, the rule right now. I wouldn't necessarily change it. I'm just thinking if you're going to change something, I would change it that way to can align the decision. But somebody's had a terrible rule where, well, maybe let's not, if you fumble in the end zone, let's not change the position, but bring them back to the 25. And that's a terrible reason, and I'll tell you why it's a terrible reason. If you're trying to run out the clock, right, and you're in, you ran out of space, you're too close to the end zone, all I need to do now is fumble it out of bounds on purpose, right? And I get 80 more yards now to run out the clock. So what I can do is I can get the ball all the way down to the 1 yard line, fumble out of bounds, bring it back to the 25, and then if I can keep moving the ball, I could infinitely keep the ball. I could keep the ball all game if I want that way, right? So it's like an infinite glitch where if you do that and just
you get down to the one and
purposely fumble out of bounds. You can just keep doing it into perpetuity if they can't stop you, right? So that's a terrible idea. And what other part of the game could you purposely go backwards and, other than penalties, right? Purposely go backwards just to gain
unless
yards.
it was a loss of down.
Yeah.
when you got fumble.
What do you mean? Make it like the immediately like
if
the fourth down?
if you fumble out of the end zone, you go back to the 10 or whatever, but it's a loss of down.
Right, but if it's on like second down and you go to the third down, it's still if you get on that third down. But I don't know. To me, there's never been any other rule where you move 80 yards back like that. It just is kind of it would be a weird thing. I don't like that.
No, not 80 yards. I could see like 10 yards back. Definitely not 80.
Well, yeah, that's what they were saying. Like bring
Oh,
him
yeah.
back,
No,
make it a
that'd be
touchback for
insane.
you all the way on the other side.
That would be insane.
Yeah, I didn't agree with that rule whatsoever. But yeah, I don't really know how you could change it. It's kind of the thing. So I'm fine with the way it is. All I was saying is there is kind of a difference in logic if you fumble it out of bounds compared to you fumble it forward in the field of play. But yeah, no, that's the Chiefs are in it again, so that's sad. But Chiefs and 49ers, the two teams I did not want to make it this far, are here. So unfortunate.
Now you get to see either the Niners or the Lions in the Super Bowl, so it's one of them.
What are you guys rooting for, Lions or the Niners?
Niners. I don't want to see them Lions win. I can't. I just don't want to see division rival win.
I'm rooting for the Lions.
I'm rooting for the Lions too.
I can't stand the 49ers after
Me
they
too,
just beat
exactly.
us. And that's petty, and it's not going to fix the problem. But
Absolutely. I screwed the 49ers. The Lions, look, the Lions have their fan base have not had a lot of success recently. I respect the team. I respect Dan Campbell. I'm rooting for the Lions. I hate to say it. Sorry, NFC North haters. But look, we haven't had a rivalry with the Lions in a long time. So let's let them have this season and then maybe fall off after that.
Hey, just
I'm
don't
rooting
let
for the
them win
Ravens.
Super Bowl.
I want the Ravens to win the Super Bowl at this
Me
point.
too.
Not that I really wanted them to win, but the least of all four evils is the Ravens. So that's who I'm rooting for.
Anyone from the AFC for me, I don't care. If it's the Chiefs, I will be fine with it. I don't care. Anyone, either Chiefs or Ravens, win it all because I hate the
Jeremy
Niners.
should be rooting for the Ravens, right? Because you have some college.
I worked there this year. I watched the Ravens destroy the Lions like a blowout, like a 30-10 game. So that's the upside for at least a hope wise.
I tweeted this last night. Whatever season has this happened before, where the first game in the NFL season, Chiefs and Lions, could also be the last game in the NFL season, Chiefs and Lions. That would be interesting if that happens.
That would be. That definitely would be interesting.
What was our last segment again?
What was our what was the biggest takeaway you had from this season?
You want to start, John, or you want me to go?
I'll start. And it's brief. It's what I said earlier. The window's open, and it's fun. I mean, it was fun going into the season with no expectations, but it's a lot more fun going in knowing the window's open, and you did. I mean, the downside is things went so well. Should we expect a little regression? But I feel the same way going into the season with Jordan Love as I did with Aaron Rodgers, and that's an amazing thing to be able to say after year one. That and just fire Joe Barry, please.
My main takeaway from this season is that I think that we've avoided a long winter. I think the Packers are definitely in a good spot moving forward. I think we got our guy in quarterback, which was the main takeaway we needed from the season. So we succeeded there. Hopefully, it continues. But yeah, I mean, we definitely could have had a lot of pain in front of us if it didn't go correctly. And I think it's just a testament to kind of the Ron Wolf, Ted Thompson, Brian Gutekunst's way of, make sure you're set on quarterback. Quarterback is your North Star that's going to keep you on the right track. And, you cannot be in a situation where you have to rush a guy in his first season. And just like in any other profession, right? If you have a really good MVP quality guy in a position that's kind of getting up to the end of his career, you want to start grooming somebody to kind of follow in his footsteps over a period of time so that when it's their time to shine, they're ready to go. So I think everything kind of worked out according to plan. The only one problem is kind of Jordan Love had almost too good of a season where now we might have to pay him. And I just don't want to be in the situation like the Giants are, where you
Yeah.
pay a guy too early, right? And now you're screwed if he doesn't kind of continue that success. Now, I don't think what's his name? Daniel Jones ever had the success that kind of Love showed and the promise Love showed this season. But
Mhm.
I would try not to give Love a huge contract this year if you can, and kind of wait till next season, because you know I want to see if he can do it 2 years in a row, and if he can do it 2 years in a row, then I'm all for giving him a big contract extension. But where the Packers could really be in trouble is if they give Love everything and he ends up not being the guy in the long term. Um, but if he is, then it's just a testament of kind of trusting the process, bringing the guy in, letting him groom upon your MVP quarterback, and then making him propel into the next 10, 15, 20 years of this franchise. It's not a coincidence that we've gone back to back to possibly back MVP All Pro quarterbacks. It's because each one had time behind the other to learn kind of how they approach the game, how they approach their practice schedule, how they approach leading men on the field, right? And they were able to take all the good parts of the guy they saw before him and maybe also see the bad parts and kind of emulate the good parts and kind of put aside the bad parts and become their own player. Each one's going to be the same. Different. But what you can do by having that time to grow is kind of learn and emulate the good parts. Like I said, give away the bad parts. So I really
Mhm.
think that this Packers team is in a good spot. There's a lot of young talent, and we can, I think, be the next Kansas City, the next Buffalo, the next Cincinnati in theory, although they didn't have a great season this year. But where we have a good young quarterback and a good young team around him, and be in the conversation every year, and hopefully blow through that door, that wall that we haven't been able to done. Hopefully, in the next few years, we're sitting on this podcast going to the Super Bowl. That's the goal, and I think it's on the table. Where I can't say it
Totally
was
on the
on the
table.
table, a few months ago, let alone this time last year. So that is the big takeaway: is that this is a Super Bowl team in theory. Now it's our time to capitalize and make it happen. Not next year, the year after that, and just repeatedly be in the conversation for the NFC Championship game and winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah. For me, I think the biggest takeaway is honestly this offense, especially the weapons. When we did not know pretty much any of the weapons, like week one, we didn't know about Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, uh, Malik Heath, Bo Melton, Samari Toure, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. We didn't know any of these guys were going to show up. We really didn't know. The only ones we really knew was like Christian Watson was kind of our number one receiver. Romeo Dobbs, he had some solid year there, especially against Dallas folks. But like the receiver core has really improved throughout the season. Like you saw drops in this season. Like you had opportunities to get a touchdown, get much more success with that. Now this like young receiving core keeps growing, growing, growing. When's the last time we've seen a great like receiving core for our wide receivers, tight ends, and running back at the same time? It's been like since the 2011 Packers with Jermichael Finley, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, all those guys. Like you see it, like Tucker Kraft, like he could break the Packers curse, a third round draft bust. Like it has not looked well.
You probably
Uh,
will.
he's looking at it. Luke Musgrave, he is solid as long as he stays on his feet. We're looking fine there. Jane Reed, he's the mini Tyreek Hill on this offense. He's literally got the speed. He's playing like a mini Tyreek Hill, in my opinion. Um, Christian Watson, he's the explosive guy. Now, a hamstring, you're going to have to be a little concerned about that, but I think he'll improve from that. Romeo Dobbs, he reminds me of Donald Driver. He refuses to go down, and he'll just get whatever you want from him. Dontavian Wicks, like the late guy that no one thought of. Like, he's got Devontae Adams in the name there of Tay, and he's doing those routes like you see of Devontae Adams, like he would do when he was with Green Bay. Like, this core is looking so good when for many years, and I have said this on this channel here, of we need to take a receiver in the first round. Can we have a receiver in the first round? JSN, I wanted the first round. No.
Me
Justin
too.
Jefferson, I wanted the first round. No. Probably, I forget who it was 2 years ago. Oh, Zay Flowers. Didn't get
Chris
him.
Olave.
Chris
Rashad
Olave.
Bateman.
Rashad Bateman. There's too many guys that I'm still like, we could have had him. Like Drake London, if you want to put out there. Calvin Ridley, too. But no. This receiving core, we got the job done, and that's what I'm happy about seeing from this team. That's the thing that's my big takeaway, and I'm excited to see where that takes us next year of like who's like as Mike mentioned, who's gonna be the slump and who's gonna be still shining. Now we all want them shining, but some of them probably gonna be like a little under the weather there a bit. But I think this offense is gonna take it next level. Like John Runyon said, ladies and gentlemen, like early in the season, he thinks they're the next Miami offense out there of the explosiveness. We saw that this year, late in the year. They did it. So that's my big takeaway is the receiving core for this team.
All right, so we're at 1:30, so I think let's start wrapping it up. But who do you guys, before we sign off, who do we have as our Super Bowl favorites? Jeremy, you start.
Well, despite I want the Niners to win, so I'll take the Niners and to represent the NFC. AFC, I want the Ravens badly, but I feel like the Chiefs are going to pull something out of their hat and just get in, just somehow, either a ref call or something. But I think the Ravens in, so I'm going to go the main obvious and follow the script of what it says is the 49ers and Ravens, hoping the Ravens win it. I'm hoping the Ravens win it and just not only get rid of the Lions, get rid of the Niners, get rid of the Chiefs, and that's the only safe team I could say as a Packer fan I'd be fine with. I mean, Chiefs, they're not much of a threat to me, honestly, as a Packer fan, but it's kind of annoying because they're the new Patriots now.
I'm predicting the Niners beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs, it's annoying, but Mahomes finds a way in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Lamar doesn't. And then the Niners, they played a horrible offensive game, a pretty crappy game on defense. Their quarterback missed a million throws. They lost their top receiver to injury and still beat the hottest team in the league. So I think they go the distance, unfortunately.
I'm tempted to pick the scripts, go 49ers, Ravens. I don't know. I honestly was not impressed by Brock Purdy against the Packers. I think he played pretty poorly, and I think the Lions have a shot. I really do. I'm going to go repeat of Week 1, Lions-Chiefs.
All right.
And I think I'll probably have to pick the Chiefs again.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I don't know. I think the Ravens got a shot too, but I'm going to go Lions-Chiefs, probably the Chiefs winning it. But I don't know. I think there's very good chance that it ends up being the opposite, being the 49ers Ravens. But I'm gonna go Lions Chiefs. So, any final thoughts from you guys before we head out?
Great season.
Great season. No drama this offseason finally.
It's great.
And hopefully make some good moves is what I'm hoping for, especially in this free agency and the draft.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good offseason. I think it's gonna be definitely very interesting. But we were talking to the diehards, Brett from Packers Diehards last week. We got to all try to make it down to a game next year. That's my goal for next year. So
can't wait for the schedule to come.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some good games. 49ers in Lambeau, Miami. That's actually a game I'd like to go to. Miami with Mike McDaniel as coach.
Texans.
Some good games.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The home opener was fun though, John. I definitely go to the home opener again. That was a fun
game to go to.
Right. The weather's still pretty
you
good.
You don't get cold. I feel like got to go cold this year.
I know.
Even though we were freezing in MetLife.
I know. You lose some aspect of it. So, we'll definitely see. So, all right. Where can we find you guys? What do you have on deck? John, you want to start as a guest?
Packing the Beanstalk on Twitter. Try to keep it pretty active throughout the off season. It's a fun time of year when you have a season like this. So, looking forward to the schedule coming out. Looking forward to the draft, free agency. And yeah, it's not a bad time to be a Packers fan, even though they depress us every playoffs.
That's correct. All right, Jeremy, you're up.
You always know where to find me on the YouTube channel. We're close to hitting the 300. We're about close to 25 subs away from there. I know back on the Twitter I saw this morning we were close to 900 if I last checked on our PackReacts Twitter. So
gave it away.
Awesome.
Well,
gave it away.
You're welcome. So yeah, there's that. I will be doing the GOAT series with Mike, as I mentioned last week. So we will be doing that of the first episode. I have not yet decided when I will be filming and all that, but 32 episode gig for season 2. We'll be having that of who's the best player in every NFL franchise, looking through that. And I'll be also doing my Packer of 2023 season, like I mentioned on the show about Moneyball, and which I mentioned with John of like the analyzing of how comparison it is realistically. I'll be comparing that 2023 season of the Packers to Moneyball. I'll be having a video after that coming out probably this week or next week.
Yeah, and as Jeremy said on my side, the Twitter, is doing great, I think. We're at 898. I was hoping we'd hit 900 on the stream, but
so I was wrong. So I was wrong. I said 900.
You said you're close to 900.
I said 900.
You said we're close. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are close. We're 2 away from 900. My goal was 1,000 before the season ended. I think we got somewhere to 850. But hey, we're creeping up on that 1K where it doesn't show the number anymore. It's a K. So hey, that's pretty good for a first real season active on Twitter on the X platform. So not our first season doing this, though, Jeremy. This is what, our second season now?
Yeah, second season. Second full season.
I think we make a lot of strides here. We got John as a repeat guest on. We got a bunch of good guests, and they're going to come. Look, we just got 899, so we're 1 away. Yeah, so, this is great. This is something that's makes being a Packers fan just a little bit different. This is your first season on it, John. What's your takeaway from being on a show like this?
This is an awesome podcast. Thank you guys for letting me go from
absolutely
guest to recurring guest. Looking forward to coming on a couple times in the off season. And no matter if it's one follower or however big you guys grow it during the off season, it's just fun to have an outlet to chat.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's the main thing. Like, we don't need to have any viewers, any money made from this. It's just a great thing to meet different Packers fans and talk about it. And again, shout out Tom Grossi. If it wasn't for Tom Grossi, Jeremy I would have met, but we wouldn't have met John. So there's going to be more of these things. And definitely, if you're watching and want to get a part and kind of get your thought out, one, reach out to us. We definitely want to get as many guests on the show as possible. But two, show up to those Tom Grossi events, because that is a great thing to take kind of like, your fandom out of the internet, out of the kind of like the cyberspace into the real world. That's a huge thing, because look, the Packers are likely never going to care about us. We're never going to get a press pass. Sure. We're never going to get sideline
fan of the year,
right? Or fan of the year. Definitely none of that. But what we do have is each other, right? We have all people that share the same passion as you and the team, and it's great. And I'm seeing so many people on Packers Twitter where, now that the season's over, saying this is my first year really being a part of it. I went through some hard times in my life, and now I have this to come back to and people to talk to. And it seems silly because it's just the Packers, it's just football, right? It's just sports. But what this is it's a common passion that people have, that everyone has their own story, and that's like why we love talking about it here. Is as a kid, you grow up loving a team, right? And maybe you're not in Green Bay, you're somewhere else. You're kind of on your own and have this internal passion. And then as you grow up and meet different people, it really allows you to connect with people and meet new people and really share your passion. So this is a great platform, and I'm really glad that we're doing this, and I'm really glad everyone out there watching. And we just hit 900 live on stream.
Congratulations.
So there we go. But yeah, that's my thing. So definitely loving what we're doing here. It's only going up from here. So great season, and we'll definitely be here throughout the off season. I'm not sure we'll be every week. We'll try to do every other week, or as much as we can. But we'll definitely be out there for what content we can. And excited to watch the Super Bowl, get through this season, and then a big draft special. Yes. Definitely gonna have a big draft special. Hopefully we can have you on for the draft, John. I'm not sure what your draft plans are, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, but we're definitely going to try to get a good amount of people this year, Jeremy. So looking forward to the draft.
Definitely we will. All right, I think it's time to play the song, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, Twitter, I don't believe, has this.
Yeah, we still need to get it.
We will try and get that as soon as we can, though. But until then, we play the song here on YouTube.
Go.
Go, Pack, go. Go. Go, Pack, go.